I often get asked this question from those around me and my patients. Says, Dr. Bobbitt, what's this thing that you study and teach called concept therapy? And we go through all these ideas about what it is. And on the simplest definition, we could just say, well, a concept is a fixed idea in the mind that we have associated with. And then the idea is therapy is working with. So we would say it's a philosophy of working with fixed ideas in the mind. Ideally, the ones that we don't want, we want to work with those so that we can remove those and put in better ideas. But on a more constructive note, if life is going really well, then figure out what those successful components are and work with those and continue that process. But why as a chiropractor, why as a healer am I interested in the philosophy of life? Well, let me show you what attracted me and what I'm about and what we're doing day to day with this data. So here's a definition. Dr. Fleet's earliest definition of what his intention was when he was trying to educate doctors early in the 30s and 40s on this philosophy. So here it is. The study and application of universal principles, universal laws of all science, theology, and philosophy. About what? Human personality. So not about everything in the universe, we're talking about human personality. But guess what? Most individuals don't understand what the human personality is. We ask anybody what it is, and the idea was, well, that's body and mind. Well, hence body-mind studies. But see, when we understand that the mind, there really isn't a mind, it's the activity of the cells in our brain. And that can be further studied into, some might say, conscious, subconscious. But the activities usually involve two types of reasoning: inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. Now, we have to go way back to school to remember what those meant. But I've mentioned before, this is a course in reasoning. And so the mind really reasons two ways. One is we think, and then decide from our thoughts and come to a conclusion. That's called inductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is where we basically accept an idea, and then we work from that idea down. Now, traditionally, science is more inductive. They take a bunch of ideas and they go down to a conclusion, and they say, okay, everything must be made up of energy because everything has energy. And then from maybe a theological side, we say there's God and that's it, and God created everything. So regardless, there's two ways to reason, inductively or deductively, and those two ways allows us to process information. So the mind is really broken down into ways to reason: conscious, unconscious. But let's keep going. It is the science, we're talking about concept therapy, it's the science of the cause of disease. That's where I'm interested. And whether the cause is from a physical, mental, or spiritual plane of being, that's one idea. And the science and art of removing the cause of disease utilizing physical, mental, or spiritual methods. That's the point. We're looking for the cause of disease. Ideally, if it's physical, it sounds great for the chiropractor. If it's mental, if it's spiritual, there may be other ways to work with that. But we're looking for the cause, and then the art of removing the cause as it relates to health. And then lastly, teaching the natural laws which govern the body, the mind, and the soul. There's no real healing without teaching. So this is what we're about, simply helping people identify the cause of disease, whether it's physical, mental, or spiritual, and then removing the cause so people can live a better life. That's what we're doing.